Right, I'm going to show you the first stage in the Art Nouveau string relief design outcome. And first of all, just going to show you the resources that you're going to work from. So these are the different Art Nouveau patterns. So these are the types of lines, shapes, forms that you'd find on Art Nouveau pieces, such as jewellery, posters, textiles, that kind of thing. And you'll see that there's two sides. So the one side probably has slightly more detailed, so more intricate, more complex patterns. And then this side has slightly more simplified, bolder lines. So the first thing you need to do really is have a look and see which of these types of patterns, which areas are you drawn to, what would you like to recreate on your own work. You can combine aspects of different ones if you wanted to. So you could take here this kind of like bouquet of little circles and add it, you know, on the end of this section here if you wanted to, or put it here instead and add a little bit of detail, because this one does have lines and not a lot of detail with it. So you can do that if you want to. Additionally, you might find that, for instance, here this piece could be a little bit too simplified for you to really show off your skills. So you can show some skill by combining, and the first task that you've got to do is to select which imagery you're going to use. So you need to have a close look and decide which aspects you want to take. It's quite useful to have a look at the format and size of the outcome you're going to make whilst you're deciding. So I can see that mine is either going to be a landscape or portrait like this, which might affect the patterns that you choose. And I can tell you that it's about A6 size. So you've obviously got one in front of you. This is like a takeaway lid, and that's how big it is. It means it's about a quarter of the size of A4. And for the first task, all you're going to need with you is a pencil and your image resource. And all we're going to do onto your A6 piece is we're going to sketch out your linear design. That's linear, so that means you don't need to include tones. We don't need to do shading necessarily at this point, because you're going to cover it all up with string anyway. So I'm just looking to see which aspects I want to include. What do I want to do on my design? So I think I'm going to choose something that's got a little bit of like more detailed area, possibly like this, and then some lines that go with it. I'm just deciding. I'm thinking about how these different aspects would fit on. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to use this section here. So, and the reason that's brought me to that section is because I can easily see the same format, so the same width and length as my card, so it's going to be easier to scale it up. So that's what I've chosen to draw from, and then all we need to do is transfer that onto your piece of card. So sometimes I can think, if I want to make sure I'm being accurate, I can try and draw a grid which just shows me approximately where halfway is going to be. So some halfway lines horizontally and some halfway lines vertically. If you do those on your card design as well, that might just help you get the features in the right place and make them the right size. So, and then all we need to do then is sketch main lines and features onto your design. I'm going to sketch quite lightly at first, just in case I want to adjust anything. So I can see that that feature is symmetrical on the design, so I'm just trying to mimic that symmetry, making sure that these are like approximately the same size, width, height. I think that's not too bad. I think probably this one could be a little bit wider, but it's not too bad. And then I can see it's got this like swinging, thicker line coming through, so I'm going to try and get that where it crosses the white flower. Imagine where it would carry on, and then follow it out the other side. You'll notice that I've turned the image upside down to draw this. So this resource was the other way up. I've turned it this way up because I'm finding it easier to work from, because the flower is the right way up. So that's also another technique you could use. You could try drawing it upside down, that might help you. Then I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to turn it that way up to sketch in these lines at the bottom. So there's a thinner stem in the middle, then there's a wider stem, and there's like a little spike there. So I've already noticed by sketching this, I can see that quite a lot of these forms look quite organic, so they look like natural things, like plants, flowers, that sort of thing. It's got a sort of curvy flow to a lot of the lines. It's not harsh and geometric, but it is quite natural, curvy, organic shapes and forms, which you'll find on lots of the Art Nouveau pieces. Okay, so that's that bit, and then I'm going to just think symmetry is probably going to be your main challenge when you're sketching out the linear aspect like I'm doing now. So I can try and make that symmetrical by looking at putting in a few other guidelines so I can see where it needs to finish, where it needs to jut out. Like I say, you're going to be using string to put on top of this, so having a few guidelines doesn't really hurt. And then I might find that easy to do it upside down. And turn it back and have a look. So this one needs to be a little bit more curlier around the edge, more curved, and that one possibly needs to be a little bit wider, just to make them most symmetrical. It's not too bad. Okay. Then I've got these larger swirls in the background. Which come very close to that central line that I've drawn here. And in fact I can see that the curves of these are almost similar, so I think I need to add on a few of the details that I can see, because whilst there's this image in the centre, this is a repeating design. So you can see on here that the design repeats itself. So this would be one lot, and then it would repeat again over here. So quite often on Nouveau there's a lot of textiles printing, a lot of use of tiles, you know, that need to match up. So there is a lot of repetition and a lot of symmetry. Okay, and then we're going to turn it over to work on the other side, I think. Maybe even turn it on the side. Okay, so I think that one over here, this larger swirl, looks better having the end of it wider, so I think I'm going to go ahead and make this one. I can't make it too much wider, else the gap will be different. Just going, but possibly a little bit. Okay, and then I'll add on the final features over here. Okay, and then I've pretty much got my design. I'm going to go over it just a little bit more darkly, just so that you can see it more clearly, but essentially that is the end of your stage 1.